Hello friends, my name is Amasu. Today we shall discuss about a topic, the business requirement. What is business requirement and why we use these terms nowadays whenever we are implementing any project. So let's start friend. First of all, I would request to please subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell option as well so that my new videos can reach to you. Friend, business requirement, it's a very common term. I'm sure that you have definitely heard about this term business requirement. Actually, what is business requirement? Business requirement defines a project need and requirements for success while keeping in mind the target audience. It describes the reason for creating a particular project, who will use it, what benefits the users will receive, and what methods will evaluate the project success. Business requirement do not explain how the project is to be created. Okay, that means basically it defines that what is the requirement actually, why, what we is the requirement and what we are going to do actually. So what does a business requirement include? A business requirement include key objectives and identification of a problem, benefits of the proposed solution, project scope, boundaries, rules, regulations, policies, key feature of the project. This include what will the facilitate project offer to the users, performance and security features, metrics to measure the success of the project. Now, what does a business requirement not include? A very interesting point. Business requirement does not include the details of the functional requirement of the system, detail of the implementation of functional or performance requirements, details of how the implement policies and regulations. So basically friend, try to understand from here that basically business requirement is telling you that what is basically you are going to implement. Okay, for example, you want a software through which you can do the payment through debit card or credit card. For example, this is the business requirement. Okay, it will not tell you that how you are going to implement it. Okay, remember one thing, it only telling you the requirement, it's not telling you the details of the implementation. Okay, the purpose of business requirement is to define a project business need as well as the criteria of its success. Business requirement describe why a project is needed, whom it will benefit, when and where it will take place, and what standards will be used to evaluate it. Business requirement generally do not define how a project is to be implemented. The requirement of the business need do not encompass a project implementation detail. Okay, just remember one thing, that project business requirement is not telling you that how the project is going to implement. Define a business requirement as being expressed in terms of broad outcomes the business require, the specific functions the system may perform. Specific design elements are usually outside the scope of this document. Okay, to compile the business requirement, an analyst must first identify the key stakeholders. This is very important, which will always include the business owners or project sponsors. Very often they will also include subject matters experts and the end user customer. Okay, also to better show what business requirement look like, we can use a project example, for example, with which everyone is familiar, buying move theater tickets, etc. There are so many examples you can take as the example of business requirement. For example, you have a requirement that customers can do the shopping through e-commerce store. Okay, so this is a business requirement. You have a requirement that file sharing can be managed through a software. So this is another business requirement. So business requirement, the analyst creates this for project would include identification of the business problem, key objectives of the project, declining ticket sales require a strategy to increase the number of customer. So the scope of the project, a few example might be is that it is very important that you should have a clear understanding of the scope of the business requirement. Scope means friend, whenever we talk about a scope, basically we are referring to the basically the boundaries of the business requirement. Key features of the service without details as to how they will be implemented. A few example might include For example, we will provide a secure site for the user to select the number of tickets and showing they wish and to enter their payment information. This is one example of business requirement. Then we will give the user the option to store his or her card information in our system so that they do not have to re-enter it in a later session. This is another business requirement. The system will accommodate credit, debit or PayPal payment methods only. This is another example of business requirement. This is a very good example. Key performance features without details as how they will be implemented. For example, the system will be designed so that it can recover within 30 seconds of any downtime. This is business requirement. Because our peak audience has been 25,000 customers in all our theaters on one night, the system will accommodate at least 10 times that many users as at any given times without any impact on system performance. So remember friend, one thing, that any requirement related to the performance of the system. Okay, so this is also an example of business requirement. You want that your website should be open in all browsers including Internet Explorer, Chrome, etc. So this is also an example of business requirement. Okay, so key security features. For example, we will devise a unique identifier for each ticket that will prohibit photocopies or counterfeits. This is an example of business requirement. Then friend, criteria to measure the project success, such as the project will be deemed successful if ticket sales return in 2000 level within 12 months of it. This is another example. The project resulting business requirement would not include a description of how to adhere to governmental or regulatory requirements, a description of how performance requirements will be implemented, such as the XYZ server on which customer information is stored will be hacked up every 5 minutes using XYZ program. Any description of how the unique ticket identifier would be implemented. Any details or specific related to the service features, such as the credit or card number text box will be the credit card number text box will be 20 characters long and accommodate simple text. If the users select yes 01, the information will be loaded to our XYZ storage server called. Okay, so these are very simple example of business requirements so that you can just have an idea of what we want to say actually. So friend, in this video we have tried to explain the concept of business requirement in a very simple and easy way so that you can understand the concept of business requirement. So friend, thanks a lot for watching the video. I hope you like this video. If you like it, please share it with your friends and colleagues, and thanks a lot for watching the video.